We are back at Authors and Innovators. I am very excited to have my friend Kate Morgan with us to talk about her new book, Custom Fit, a straight-talking guide to hiring top talent for entrepreneurs and small business owners. Welcome, Kate. And if there was never a title that fit the person, it's this one. And I just love this book. It's very smart, very practical, very clear, plain, and what I like about it most is it really does fit our theme this year, which is the resilient entrepreneur. So for our folks who are, of course, going to read this, but meeting you for the first time, I always like to have them get a sense of who the author is. So I'd love to have you talk about your own experience as a resilient entrepreneur.
Sure. Well, it probably would start with the opening chapter, right? Yeah, I think the best part of entrepreneurship is really about storytelling, and my whole thing is entrepreneurship is it's filled with ups and downs, and for me, even though I'm in the people strategy business is, it can be challenging, but it's about data. It's about your strategy, yes, but business can be relatively easy. The variable is always about the people. And when I first my business, it was in 2011, and it was on the heels of the recession, and yet I was oversubscribed with business, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this, and so I set out to replicate myself, and even by 2015, the market the job market was still depressed, but by 2015, I was already over 2 million. But it was in 2015, I was faced with what I thought was going to be a lawsuit. And I was stopped dead in my tracks. And what do we do when we are facing something insurmountable? Well, I called my dad. And
Of course.
and that's when he told me, well, that's why I was paid the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt deeply alone. And I ended up joining the Entrepreneurs Organization. And in my first forum session, I had a woman who was on her second business, and I relayed the same story, and she reached over, she patted my hand, and she said, "Oh, your first lawsuit, it's so cute." And it took that horrible situation, and it grounded me, and I felt so much more at ease. And all of a sudden, it wasn't personal. It was just something that I had to deal with, and it wasn't so scary. And that is actually one of the reasons why I wrote the book. Was, you know what? Let's just normalize all of this so it doesn't have to be scary for people.
Right. And Boston Human Capital Partners, talk a little bit about what that is, your great organization, growing organization, and how it informed you to write this book.
Yeah. So Boston Human Capital Partners, it's partnership. So we go in as an embedded resource to help companies think about their people. So your people, it really is your greatest asset. So we go in as an embedded resource. We think about your talent acquisition. So when you work with recruiting as a contingency, you're bringing in it's contingency recruiting is coin operated. You're paying a commission. Well, we're here to actually think about and protect you from just hiring. We're going to be vigilant for you. We're going to help you find the right custom
Right.
talent as opposed to just slamming people in. And we're going to protect you and not just hire for skills, but hire the right team for you.
And Kate, you've encountered this a lot. A busy CEO, a venture-backed CEO says, I just need results. I just need this one person. That's all I need them to do, Kate. I don't need to think about that. That's a luxury. And you tell them what?
Nope, because guess what? You get that bad hire, it will cost you so much
Right.
more in the long term. You get a bad hire, it costs you in pain, time, discomfort, morale, everything. It is so much more expensive.
One of the things I really liked about this book is you bring the reader into the process. So, and we'll have CEOs and entrepreneurs watching this. And for them, talk about where it starts. I loved your descriptions of job descriptions, and I'm thinking, I can just do that job description on ChatGPT. I don't even have to go back to it when my team is interviewing somebody because they're just going to go with what they think is going to be the fit. And you have thoughts on both of those things, job descriptions and how the team, the recruiting internal team, ought to be thinking about them.
Well, let's, Larry, you're married, I'm married. Let's be honest, we're not going to dating sites, but let's just think about that. If we were going to a dating site, or if we had friends going to a dating site, are we going to go to ChatGPT to have chat put together our profiles? No, we're all unique, but we're going to go to chat to put together our profiles. And that's what everybody's doing, or they're plagiarizing before chat, right? Like, so we need to really sit down and think about what we want this person to be, to look like. What does our relationship look like at the end of a year? And heck, even if we're looking at our dating profiles, don't we want to know what the relationship should look like at the end of 12 months? So think about that when we're writing our job descriptions. We want to know what success should look like and how does it evolve 3, 6, 9, 12 months out. And then we can kind of see and track how that relationship's going to evolve through the quarters.
And what struck me about your advice here is it's not kitchen sink. We've both seen job descriptions that go on and on and on, and it is almost like a recipe that was cooked by a committee because you see all of these different pieces and you read this and think, how could you possibly find someone who does all of these things and does them well? And can you give advice to, one, the team putting that together, and then the opposite, the Kate or the Larry who's looking for a gig and saying, I don't know if I'm a fit. I don't know how I should be thinking about job descriptions. So can you talk about kind of the internal focus of the team crafting that job description and then the external focus of somebody looking at it?
Yeah. Well, and that's we're hearing more and more about how people are concerned about AI weaning their resume,
Right.
right? So AI will start parsing out if they're checking all of these boxes. Does the resume have all of these various buzzwords? Well, you have to remove the buzzwords and get the general feeling of who the right person is. And that's why I'm actually personally against AI when it comes to talent. I focus on earlier stage companies. So this does not, this,
You got to do a lot of things, wear a lot of hats, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes me really uh, annoyed, if you will, because we can't distill this down to a recipe box. Um, if I love to cook, and cooking and not baking, cooking, we can have substitutions. And so I really detest having to have these like onesie, twosie, like have to have every single thing. I want to substitute because if I have that certain
It's a great
flavor,
analogy. Great analogy. Yeah.
and then you have these flavors that come out and you're going to have a much better custom fit and you're going to have a better just a better person because you're not so hard lined. And you know what, you're going to bring something so much better, and that's your competitive advantage, because you're going to say, hey, particularly when we start looking at these nuanced roles like operations is a nuanced role. We are hearing this title chief of staff, which means so many different things for so many
Right.
companies. So when you can start to have conversations and just say, hey, what does a chief of staff mean in your company? What does a head of operations? Because head of operations and chief of staff,
Could mean a lot of things, right?
I love the
Yeah.
title of factotum. What does a factotum mean? Nobody uses that in modern language, but it means a lot, right? So having that and seeing what it means. So I think you have to really look at individuals rather than just checking these little boxes and buzzwords.
And talk about it for the students who might be looking at this, the law students, the business students who say, Kate, that all makes good sense, but I know AI is reading my resume, so I'm going to cut and paste something from that job description to get through that, because I got to get through that screen. What do you tell the new job seekers, the students who might be listening to this and might say, should I read this book?
Yeah. So for the students, get away from your machine, get out. And I don't know if this is a PC word anymore because it sounds kind of icky, but press the flesh. Like
Right.
you have to get out and shake hands, get out into the public and meet people. Because right now, we don't have rhetoric in school anymore. We don't have public speaking. Yet the people who are actually commanding respect are the people that can actually present really, really
Right.
well.
Right.
So get to Toastmasters, get out, network. Those are the people that are going to actually move their own needle forward.
Kate, how does a CEO, particularly an early stage CEO, how do they use both Boston Human Capital, but also might use LinkedIn? How give them a tip or two? Should they even use LinkedIn to find people, to think about people, to connect to people? How do you advise your CEOs to think about the world of candidates and how to get the best pool of potential candidates?
Yeah. So we know, what is it? Uh, Always be recruiting, right? ABR.
Right, right.
I think it's really critical that you always be talking to people, always be networking. I bumped into this just recently. So I was introduced to do a recruiting effort. It's a young company. The company's only been in existence for about 3 years. So I go to connect with the person on LinkedIn, and their LinkedIn profile is shut. So I have to have their email address. Mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's a young CEO. They should always be available. I get it. I get it because I'm in.
Nobody wants to get spammed, but you're right. You've got to be open to the conversations.
Exactly, exactly. So they need to be available. They need to be out there. I was just watching Jules on a panel at Startup Boston Week, and she said the best part of her recruiting strategy when she was running the Grommet was she would go and she would just sit on panels, because that became her recruiting function, because she would sit on panels and then people would reach out to her. Such a spot on advice. Just
Jules
be
Peary from the Grommet, great company, great friend, and a great talent.
Yeah,
Certainly knows how to do that.
brilliant. Yeah.
Kate, talk a little bit about to these CEOs who might be thinking, custom fit feels a lot like it's a hiring. How should I be thinking about contractors? And try before I buy, I hear from some of my CEOs. Do you have a view on that?
Yeah. So I do think it's a great opportunity for both sides when done well. So the challenge right now is a lot of I'll say more on the business owners. Business owners, a lot of the solopreneurs, they kind of enter into um, entrepreneurship by bringing on 1099s. Larry, you're a lawyer.
Hmm.
So they get into the slippery
Right.
slope of 1099s, where I
Yeah.
dub it as risky sex. Right? It's like it seems like a good idea, but they misclassify them, and
Right.
it becomes like, oh, it's just easy. We'll put them as 1099s, but it can be really dangerous. So as long as they're doing it correctly, 1099s can be good. But I think you need to make sure that if they're really truly W-2s, make sure that their W-2s take them in as temp to perm. And as long as you're doing it correctly, I think you could do the contract to perm, but really make sure that the contractor understands and there's correct deliverables, because you don't also want to set people up that they could be bringing their all to the game and putting on the back burner real true opportunities
Ah,
full time.
to shine. Right. One of the one of the pieces in the book, and I think you titled the chapters. I just love this for a way of thinking about people, and you frame it as resilience, which of course is our theme, over pedigree. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this because it's just super expensive to have degrees now. You're talking about $60,000 to $70,000 to go to university, and a lot of students, like I remember. So I'm a college dropout, and I think I'm very successful. It does not matter for me at 52 that I don't have a college degree. But back in my day, I was only fortunate in the fact that there was such a need for talent when I was growing my career. But then we got into a situation where people just were, geez, if you don't have a degree, it's because you just didn't try hard enough. You weren't disciplined enough. Well, I'll tell you, you had to be really disciplined to be successful without a degree. I think we're in a situation now where it's so expensive to have, a mortgage, to pay rent, to do all these things and actually be able to be successful. I think we're going to revert back to that. I know a lot of successful people who did not get the diploma. And so look beyond that. That's why my favorite question, and I'm interviewing right now. My favorite question for my own hiring for my own team: what has been your greatest challenge that you've ever experienced? And they're light years ahead of every candidate when they first ask, professionally or personally.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then that whatever story they come forward with, I'm like, they're going to have a good one for me.
Oh, I love that. And it is certainly telling. And I love that piece of this. That's what makes it so valuable, because it really requires that entrepreneur to have a broader understanding of skill sets,
Yeah.
and an understanding that, frankly, the world is changing with skills, and the college or bust mentality is certainly something, particularly not only because of the demographic cliff that's coming, but also because of the structural changes in the workforce that are going to make it really, really important for people to test and try and find their why. And the best way to do that is to fail sometimes. When you decided to focus on this end of the market, rather than going to some big bank or some national company where you're just going to hire um, rungs of C-suite executives, you decided to lean in and really think about small businesses, entrepreneurs, people that for whom these hires really matter. Uh, Talk more about that and your own kind of focus in this area.
Yeah, because I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I identify more as an entrepreneur. I spent, I guess, 4 years at a publicly traded company. It was good to me, but this is where I belong. 100%.
Working with folks.
Yeah.
So, Kate, what are you reading? What are you watching these days? I want everybody to read Custom Fit, but for people who might want to know more about this area, what are what's on your bookshelf?
Yeah, so I am all over the map. So, and I'm not a reader. Isn't that embarrassing? But I'm not a reader. I'm a
Oh,
listener.
lots of ways to read. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
You're
so
listening.
I
Yeah.
I am 100% listener. So I just did the reading for Custom Fit. So in another 8 weeks, Custom Fit
Oh, I love it. That's
actually
great.
will actually be an audio. But I'm listening to The Alchemist. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
wonderful book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I decided I wanted to read that because I'm kind of just exploring a little bit of, just variety. I always have, and believe it or not, I wanted to read or listen to the golden oldies. So believe it or not,
Hmm.
guerrilla marketing.
Sure. Yeah.
So
And when you read these, you find that they resonate in different ways, right? Then when you're 32, 42, 52, you just read it from your own lived experience in a different way.
yep, and then so I usually have three things going on at the same time, and then Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Wonderful. Wow. You've got a lot going on in addition to being founder CEO of your thriving company. The book is Custom Fit. Kate Morgan, thank you so much. I'm delighted you're here with us at Authors and Innovators.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.